أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق وتمت كلمات ربك صدقا وعدلا لا مبدل لكلمات الله لا مبدل لكلماته وهو السميع العليم. For the hastening and the reappearance of the Imam, please recite them salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. My condolences to the Lady of Light, to the Mother of Believers, Sayyidatun Nisa, to the Holy Prophet, and to the Master of our age, and to all the mu'mineen and mu'minat, and the brothers and sisters sitting here on the martyrdom anniversary of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Brothers, as we get closer to this occasion of Ashura, to this occasion of Arba'een, the realities of these majalis should be made apparent. This Majlis is not anything ordinary. It is a manifestation. It is a manifestation of the ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When you are in these majalis, imagine yourself in Karbala under the dome of Imam Hussain. Imagine yourself next to Sayyidatun Nisa weeping for Imam Hussain. Brothers and sisters, it has immense rewards. There is a narration in the book of Sheikh Abbas al-Umi, known as Nafs al-Mahmoum. By the way, if you ever get a chance, it's a very big book regarding Karbala. What happened? What was the tragedy of Imam Hussain? It's a maqtal of Imam Hussain. One of the narrations he mentioned is that one day the Holy Prophet ﷺ was seated, and Imam Ali, Lady Fatima, and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain were sitting around him. And then the Prophet addressed them and said, "What will be your state when all of you will be killed and your graves will lie scattered?" Imam Hussain responds, and he said, "Ya Rasulullah, will we die from natural causes? Or will we be martyred?" The Prophet said, "Ya bunayya, oh my dear son, you will be killed with oppression and cruelty, and your brother Hassan will be killed with tyranny and cruelty, and your offspring will be scattered over the land." Hussain then asked him, "Who will kill us, Ya Rasulullah?" He replied, "The worst among the men will kill you." Then Imam Hussain inquired, "Then will anyone come and visit our graves after our death?" Ya Rasulullah, the Prophet answered, "Na'am ya bunayya, bala ya bunayya. A group of people from among my community will come and visit your grave seeking my pleasure." Yani, visiting the grave of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, seeking whose pleasure? Prophets. Then on the day of Qiyamah, near the station of accounting, I'll go to them and catch a hold of their hand and will save them from terrors and sorrows. Brothers and sisters, this ibadah that we are doing right now, it has so much reward. It's like visiting Imam Hussain. So when we, at the end of the Majlis, when we do ziyarah of Imam Hussain, keep this in mind. The Prophet said on the day of judgment, when Allah is accounting for all your sins, and you were a sincere visitor of Imam Hussain, He will come and take you by hand and save you. Insha'Allah, we all become the sincere zawar of Imam Hussain. You can do ziyarah from here, brother. You don't have to go to Karbala, although it's very recommended. If you have the means, go to Karbala. Brothers and sisters, for the past few nights, We have been gathering here. We have been commemorating what? Imam Hussain. What are we commemorating of his mission? What was his mission? He states in his will to Muhammad Hanafiya, إنما خرجته لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I'm exiting this nation, the city that I'm in, for the reform of my grandfather, for the reform of the nation of my grandfather, Rasulullah. And we were discussing, what does it mean to reform the nation of Rasulullah? The nation of Rasulullah was on a common ideology, was on a common framework. Imam Hussain aimed to revive that framework. Hence, we call the next 10 nights reviving this Islamic ideology, restoring the framework. The first quality was what? Quality of truth. This framework in the Deen al-Islam, it's a religion of truth. Second quality, fitrah. It was harmonious with the human nature. أقم وجهك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها. Allah is telling the Prophet, stand up on this religion that we have given you, because this religion is harmonious with the human that Allah created you on. And then the third quality, which we discussed last night, what was it? Moderation. We made you a moderate nation. The fourth quality, inshallah, which we want to discuss tonight, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Muharram al-Kitab, in Surah Al-An'am, Surah number 6, verse number 115, says, وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا. The word of your Lord, there is many discussions on what it means by the word of your Lord, was completed truthfully and justly. لا مبدل لكلماته. Nothing can change his word. وهو السميع العليم. And he is all hearing and all knowing. Hence, this justice that we want to discuss tonight, it is essential for reviving the Islamic ideology. It becomes a major component as a part of the Islamic framework. And it becomes the duty and responsibility of every single Muslim out there to establish justice in their lives and the lives of others. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Naml, verse number 90, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ. Indeed, Allah commands justice and goodness. And don't we all want to be loved by Allah? What is the quality to be loved by Allah? In Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 42, Allah said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُقْسِطِينَ. Indeed, Allah loves those who judge justly, those who do justice. So keeping this in mind, we want to start off today's topic on this note. But what type of justice are we discussing here? Brothers and sisters, it's important to note we're not discussing the justice of Allah over here. Justice of Allah is an undeniable fact. And inshallah, if we get a different time, we can discuss that in more detail. Although the topic we're going to discuss tonight is fairly linked with the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that divine justice. Tonight we want to discuss the necessity in human interaction, that concept that constitutes human interaction between himself, people around him, his community, and himself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're discussing that essential component in society that philosophers from the Aristotelian period discussed. Philosophers in the period of the Renaissance discussed this. Philosophers, the Muslim philosophers always discuss this topic. The Chinese philosopher, the Indian philosopher, they all would discuss whether justice is essential for society. We're going to discuss what is justice. And then after that, we want to discuss how can we judge others? Are we in a position to judge others in the first place? And when we are judging others, how are we supposed to judge others? Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. زين أصواتكم على الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Justice. What is justice? Justice is the lack of dhulm. Adl, adala. The word used for justice is adala. It's a lack of dhulm. What is dhulm? Injustice, oppression. So to understand a concept, oftentimes what we do is we understand the opposite of that concept to then go back and understand that concept. Let's look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses oppression in the Quran. First, what are the facets of oppression? The first facet, oppression with ourselves. Oftentimes when we think about injustice, we think about, well, we need to establish justice in society. We need to build a good court system. We need to make social justice. Brothers and sisters, the Quran says, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Social justice is not the criteria for justice all the time. The firstly, you must establish justice within yourself. Allah says in the Muhkamat al-Kitab, أن الله أن لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. Who is saying this? Prophet Yunus is saying this when he's where? When he is stuck in the belly of the whale. What does he say? There is no God but you, Subhanaka. Glory be to you. إني كنت من الظالمين. I am among the wrongdoers. Brothers and sisters, Prophet Yunus, he was a very pious man. Why did he say he couldn't be and I'm among the wrongdoers? It's a technical conversation. He did something that he could have done better. This dhulm on yourself is you have deprived yourself of a few necessities in your life, including your spiritual necessities, number one. If someone stops eating for 2 days and just decides not to eat, he is depriving himself of spiritual, physical needs. He's doing dhulm on himself. He's oppressing himself. If someone doesn't care about what he has to eat, he even a little bit here, he's not doing it. He's doing dhulm on himself up until a certain level. He's oppressing himself. If I am, for example, not meeting my, if I'm not drinking enough water, I am doing dhulm on myself, right? All of these things constitute dhulm on oneself. Brothers and sisters, let me ask you something. If I am committing a sin, that has to do with me. It doesn't have to do with Allah. For example, I'm doing something haram. I'm doing my salah, I'm doing my fasting, I'm doing something haram. I'm doing something makruh. I'm doing dhulm on myself. There is a story from the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet and his companions were traveling to the wilderness. Back then they had to go long days in big caravans. Some of the Ashab were going with the Prophet, God knows where, and it was getting near to the night time, right? And the Prophet was in the middle of the wilderness, so back then they didn't have flashlights on their phone. It was that easy to bring up a light, right? The Prophet was like, he told his companions to go gather wood to burn a fire. But the companions murmured, they started saying things, they were being apologetic. They were like, there's no signs of any trees, it's the middle of the desert, you won't find any trees here, Ya Rasulullah. You won't find any bushes or shrubs here to say that you can start a fire of wood.
Prophet was like, however, he said, go find whatever you can, right? He told the people, go search for whatever you can, and inshallah you will find something. The companions moved in different directions, searching for small twigs. And eventually, whenever they returned, they put it all in one pile. And eventually, the pile became really big. To everyone's amazement, everyone was surprised. SubhanAllah, look! It's a miracle of Allah! We couldn't find any wood, we couldn't find any trees, we couldn't find any shrubs. But SubhanAllah, look, the smallest of twigs we collected, it's a big pile now. The Prophet, looking at his companion, he took this opportunity to teach them something. This is what the prophetic style, brothers and sisters. Even the smallest of things, the Prophet would always encourage learning. He would always take a lesson from things. Right? So what happened was the Prophet stopped his companion there and was like, Ya Sahabi, O my companion, our small and insignificant sins are like a twig, are like these twigs. And you may think it's small and insignificant, but over a period of time, these small sins, they pile up and they become huge. They became a mountain of sins. And on the day of judgment, you will be accounted for these little sins too. Right? And they may have seemed insignificant to you at the time, but now look at them, they have been compiled and put together another huge mountain of sin. Brothers and sisters, this is dhulm on ourselves. Getting back to the topic. This is oppression on ourselves. Next type of dhulm is a dhulm on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the dhulm that we're talking about when someone abandons their prayers. Right? When someone does kufr. Where do we see this in the Quran? In Surah Al-Luqman, verse number 13, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِبَنِيهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. O my son, O my dear son, and I advise him, O my son, do not ascribe partners to Allah. Indeed, shirk is a great oppression. Interesting. At the beginning of this discussion, we thought that dhulm meant or harming someone, killing someone, doing wrong to someone. No, the dhulm firstly means dhulm to myself, oppression to myself. Next, it means dhulm to God Almighty. How have I wronged God? By ascribing partners to Him, by worshipping other than Him. That's doing injustice with Allah. And this type of dhulm, brothers and sisters, makes one successful or not successful. Interesting. There is a story, I'm wondering if I should mention. Well, let's mention it. There's no harm in mentioning. There was a Jewish priest by the name of Hussain. He was a very pious person. He was so pious of an individual that Allah would grant all of his prayers. Allah would never reject his prayers. One day, the daughter of the king was brought to him for healing. Right? The daughter of the king was very sick. The princess. So the princess was brought to him, and the princess was to stay there overnight. And subhanAllah, shaitan got to him. And he committed haram. No one was there, no one saw it. But then the next day, he felt so shameful. He saw that the princes, they will come and they'll see the daughter, and they'll see what I've done, and they'll execute me, they'll harm me. So what I'll do is, shaitan came to his mind and said, you know what you should do? You should kill that girl. So he committed another sin. Again, this is dhulm on itself. First, he did dhulm on himself. And look how that dhulm on itself became larger and larger. And I have a point here, brothers and sisters. He killed them, and then he was like, oh no, they'll find the body. He's like, bury them in the back of the monastery. He buried them, and he went back to his prayers. Eventually, that day, the brothers came. The brothers of the princess came. They were like, where is the princess? He's like, I don't know, she ran away. Go find her. The princes went and they were searching for the princess. They couldn't find her anywhere. They were like, where could she have gone? She was just a little girl. She couldn't have done much. She was too old. Right? Like she didn't know much about the city. She was always in the castle under the king's protection. And then Shaitan came to the princess and was like, you know what Barsita did? Barsita did this thing to her and hid her in the back of the monastery. The brothers went and found the dead body. And now Barsisa is in deep trouble. Remember, this man was doing the job of da'wah. He was such a pious individual. And then he was brought to the court and was ready to be hanged and executed. And then all of a sudden, Shaitan came to him. And Shaitan was like, you know, I can get you out of this situation. Bow down to me. Prostrate to me, and I'll get you out of this. He's like, how can I prostrate to you? There's a rope around my neck. I cannot prostrate to you. He was like, you know, just tilt your head a little bit. And as soon as he did that, Shaitan ran away. He was like, Inni aduwwun. I am your enemy. Inni akhafullah. Indeed, I fear Allah. Shaitan says, I fear Allah. So the moral of the story was, he started off with dhulm on himself. And then, slowly, that dhulm on himself transferred to dhulm on Allah. Right? So that is why it's so important to not do dhulm on yourself, not oppress yourself, because eventually the dhulm on yourself will lead to kufr, will lead to injustice with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why in Surah Luqman advises his son, La tushrik billah, don't do shirk in Allah. Inna shirka la dhulmun adheem. Indeed, shirk is a big wrongdoing, is a big injustice. Anyway, and the dhulm we all have been waiting for. Dhulm between each other, between brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran in regards to says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la ta'kul amwalakum bainakum bibatil illa an takuna tijaratan an taradhi minkum. ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما وإن يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما فسوف نسيه نار. Allah says in the Holy Quran, O you who believe, do not eat up your blood amongst yourselves and have mutual consent when doing trade. And do not kill each other. Do not kill anfusakum. The word is used, anfusakum. It could mean do not kill each other, do not kill yourselves too. Inna Allah bikum rahima. Indeed, Allah is merciful to you. But if you do such, they are doing aggression and injustice, and soon they will enter the fire, and that is easy. And that is easy for Allah. Allah will punish you if you do dhulm. What is the context of the dhulm? The dhulm is amongst each other. Don't kill each other. Don't harm each other. Be fair while trading with each other. Be truthful to each other. All of these principles of the Quran, they were there to establish justice. There is a story from the life of Imam Ali. I don't know how much. We have some. I'll mention it. Where Imam Ali one day, he saw a man wearing his armor that was stolen. It was a Jewish man, right? Imam Ali was like, let's take you to court. And by the way, keep in mind, he was the Khalifa at the time. He was the leader of the whole Islamic state at the time. He was like, let's take you to court. Imam Ali went to court. The Hakim, he sat in front, the judge, he sat in front and he was like, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is the case between Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fulan, right? We don't have the name. He was like, Amir al-Mu'mineen, stop him right there. First, you address me by my title, Amir al-Mu'mineen, and you addressed him by his name. Is that fair? No. Address me by Ali, address him by his name. Or give him a title too. And look at this, he's the king of the time. He's saying, address me by my first name. Okay, take it back. And then he was like, Quran, you claim that this armor is yours. He was like, yes, I testify that this armor is mine. He's a Jewish man, keep this in mind. Then Ali was like, yes, I also testify that this armor is mine. And he took it unjustly. The judge asked, Ya Ali Amir al-Mu'minin, you have a witness for what you're saying. He said, no, and I know I cannot make a ruling without a witness. So then the judge was like, alright, fine, then we can't do anything and he can keep that armor. But then the Jewish man saw this justice of Imam. Keep in mind, he's the sin. Everyone believes in his truthfulness. Everyone testified to his truthfulness. Even the Jewish man was testifying to his truthfulness, but he was like, I still believe this armor is mine. Then after that, after he saw the humility of Imam Ali and the justice that he established, he stood up and he was like, I lied. This armor belongs to Ali. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan. Seeing the justice that Imam Ali had established, he converted to Islam. Brothers and sisters, in Islam, this justice is not an abstract concept. We talk about abstract art today, right? That art that a 2-year-old can make, right? Abstract art. Just like that, justice is not abstract. Justice is principle-based in Islam. And it is tied in very closely with the principles of the Holy Quran and the Muharram of the Kitab. That is why this book is very important to us. This principle-based ideology means, what is justice? Now we're going to discuss what is justice. Yeah, let me give you an example which will make it easier for you. If I take this water bottle and put it over here, and it falls over. Let's assume that this was much thinner, and it falls over. That was justice or injustice? That was injustice. Why? Because the water bottle belongs in a cup holder. Similarly, if I were to take this iPad and walk over it, is that justice or injustice? Injustice. This iPad was meant for other things. If I were to take this book and it's raining outside and I just put it over my head as a cover, justice or injustice? Injustice. This is what is meant by justice, brothers and sisters. Putting something in its right place. I am putting myself in a right position. I am adjusting myself to meet a rightness. That requires principle. Unlike what the West has taught you, that justice is relative, it's an abstract concept, it depends on the ethics of the society. No, justice is deeply rooted in morality. It has principles to it. Brothers and sisters, I want to quote one of our ulama, right? Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi, he says, one dimension of the Quran aims to eliminate oppression amongst human beings and introduce social adl among mankind. If we who consider themselves to be the followers of the Holy Quran, and the Muslim world to strive and expand the dimension of the Quran, the dimension relating to the dispensation of Islamic adl in this world, and acquiring the Quran's external appearance. Yani, one, to propagate the Quran must establish justice. Just like the story of Imam Ali I just told you, he invited someone to Islam, he converted someone to Islam by establishing justice, by showing his justice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran and ideological Islam tells us a method of judging and establishing justice. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَغَيِّرِ اللَّهِ الْأَبْتَغِي حُكْمًا وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنزَلَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْكِتَابَ مُخْلِصًا. Shall I seek a judge other than Allah, while it is He who has sent down a book well elaborated, well elaborated in the principles of justice? So don't try try and make your own principle, brother. Oh, I think this is fair. No. Unfortunately, Islam doesn't care what you say. Islam cares what is there in reality. And the principle of justice is how society functions today. If I think that wearing certain clothes is injustice, but Islam says that you should wear those clothes, that doesn't matter what you think. What Islam thinks is exactly how justice functions. Again, Islam has a very principled justice. If I think that going to this madrasa, studying under this teacher is justice, but Islam tells you don't follow these certain individuals, you are doing injustice, and it's called jahl al-murakkab. You don't realize it, but you are ignorant. Brothers and sisters, now we want to discuss how are we supposed to implement justice. Let's take it to the bare basics. How are we supposed to practice justice? Oh, brother, I am so energized after the Majlis of Imam Hussain. Oh my God, I want to be like Lady Zainab, and I want to go establish amal bil ma'roof wa nahy anil munkar. We discussed the first day. What was the goal of the mission of Imam Hussain? إِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّتِ يَدِّي. I want to see reform in the nation of my grandfather. أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَمَرَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهْيَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. I want to establish the good and forbid the evil. وَسِيرَةً بِسِيرِ جَدِّي وَأَبِي عَلِيٍّ بْنِ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. And I want to match the people's practices to the practices of my father and my grandfather. Right? So if this was the goal of Imam Hussain, we want to take a message from this Majlis of Imam Hussain. We want to establish justice within ourselves, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and socially. Right? So how can we establish justice socially? Please recite Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, firstly, a lot of the times you hear this. Do not be judgmental. Do not judge me. I'm not wearing the hijab. Don't judge me though. I'm not being a good Muslim. Don't judge me. Don't be judgmental. Right? Islam tells us to do amr bil ma'roof and nahy anil munkar. For amr bil ma'roof, to command good, you must first realize there is bad going on. You must have that realization. You must have that evaluation. And evaluation is what? An evaluation is a form of justice, a form of judgment. So if I'm making judgment on someone to do amr bil ma'roof, at the same time we're being told not to judge other people, how am I supposed to reconciliate this? And in fact, amr bil ma'roof becomes wajib. It's one of the furu' of Islam. It's wajib upon every single Muslim, based on his capabilities, based on his time, based on his surroundings, to do amr bil ma'roof so that he can establish justice. Firstly, there are principles to amr bil ma'roof. There are some conditions to it. Let's look at the conditions. Firstly, when you're doing it, you should have husn dhan. You should have a good assumption about others. Brothers and sisters, unfortunately, in today's world, we're always taught to be suspicious of others. You know, often it's trending. It was trending a while back. There was an op trend, right, on TikTok, where everyone would mention who are their ops. Who's my enemy, right? He's an op to me. Right? Zaki is smiling. He knows what I'm talking about. Right? He's an op. Right? This is not what Islam promotes, unfortunately. Fortunately, actually, not unfortunately. Islam did not promote this op culture that has become popular. Right? Islam says, La tajassus. Do not have suspicion, do not spy, do not backbite. All of these things are essential. Yani, if I see someone do something that I think is in a gray area, yani, it looks like, you know, it could mean something else. Or yani, he could have a better intention for doing it, and he's doing it because of a necessity. Make that your priority. That excuse. Make an excuse for that brother. I see this brother doing wrong. Try and make an excuse in your mind. Try seeing if there is a justification for his action. Don't always try jumping to conclusions. I see this is what's happening, hence it must be what's happening. No. Try making a justification. I see someone maybe speaking with a non-mahram. In my mind, firstly, I don't know if that person is non-mahram to him. Secondly, even if I know if it's non-mahram to him, he might not be having a haram conversation. He might be having a very valid conversation. A lot of the time, a lot of religious people, they jump to conclusions. They're like, yes, this person's doing haram. We must condemn them. Oh, relax. Think about it. There's a thought process that goes into Amr bin Ma'ruf. Second thing, when someone approaches someone, the style of approaching, fine, you come to a conclusion. Even if you want to assume good, you still want to clarify it, right? You assume good, yes, but you still want to have it clear in your mind so that there's no doubt. Still go and approach a person. When you're approaching that person, make sure you're not offending them and you're not discouraging them to practice religion more. A lot of the time we go out and we have so much confidence in ourselves that we go out to discourage. We say something to discourage someone. We're trying to criticize someone, but we discourage them from the whole action itself. I mean, someone's doing something good, but he's doing it a little bit wrong. And you try correcting them, and you discourage them to stop the whole thing. Right? It's important to make sure and to correct the way we approach people. All of this is so that we can establish justice. And make sure, brothers and sisters, this is important. You are certain before approaching someone. Or before telling someone's wrong, right? A lot of people come to the member and say, this thing's wrong, this thing's wrong, this thing's wrong. Where's your certainty in this regard? You say this person's wrong, prove it to me. If you claim to be truthful, show me your proofs. Right? Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha says, أكثر مصارع عقولي تحت برك محتمل. There is no justice in passing a verdict based on probability. Yani, in a lot of the times I see this, I spend my day in the school, I spend my day in the Majlis, I spend my day studying. All of a sudden, someone has a suspicion, someone has a problem with someone, and it's probable that he cheated. Yani, it's not even 100% sure, but it looks like he cheated. Because his assignment is very similar with this other person's assignment. I excuse it, because I'm not certain about it. Or I inquire about it, I do more investigation. Imam Ali said, there is no justice in passing a verdict, replying to a probability, or based on a probability. It's probable that he cheated. I know he cheats all the time. Yani, now I am going to hold him accountable. Even though I don't know if he cheated in this specific example. Or in the past he cheated a lot, and now I'm going to hold him accountable. Brothers and sisters, one more thing to remember. While doing amal bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, you see someone doing a sin, yes, you want to correct, you want to establish justice. But before establishing justice, it is important to establish justice within ourselves. Doesn't mean don't go and preach, no. But at the same time, while preaching to others, also preach to yourself about it. One more thing to remember, brothers and sisters, then I'll discuss the last point of my lecture and move on. When you are, please recite Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Muhammad wa I completely forgot this point went out of my mind. Anyways, so when you are judging, when you're creating this justice amongst each other, that sin that person does, we all make mistakes. Keep that in mind. We're not all perfect beings. Don't judge someone like he's a perfect being. I mean, he's doing wrong. Yes, it should be corrected. But don't hold him to a standard of perfection. Give him time to improve. And don't, for God's sake, this is the tradition of our Imam to not do this. Don't make the one sin of that person his whole personality. Now all of a sudden, every time we have a conversation about this person, this one aspect of his personality. There's this one sin, it's a habit, it's a little habit, he acknowledges it, but it hasn't become his whole existence. His existence is holy. We as human beings are holy beings. We discussed this in the lecture of Allah has given us His own group to us. We as existential beings are holy in nature. We have a holy existence. So for God's sake, do not make His whole existence based on that sin until He Himself has made His existence that. I mean, there are some people who have made their whole existence sin. They have nothing but sin. There's no hope for them. And that's why the Quran says there is no guidance for them either. But most people are not like that. Most people are genuine people who have mistakes in their lives. So keep that in mind. Yes, they still need to be corrected, but there is a level of etiquette to it. Please recite Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ala
The last point, and I promise this is the last point. When we are judging others, when we are holding people as role models, when we are following people, when we are trying to establish justice through other people, you must remember the Quranic principle. There is no such thing as race. There is no such thing as fame. There is no such thing as wealth. There is no such thing as popularity when it comes to judging others. I'm judging him because he's African American. I'm going to treat him like this. I'm going to treat a Hispanic person like this. I'm going to treat a Desi person like this. I'm going to treat a non-Muslim person like this. I'm going to treat a Muslim person like this. No, the Quranic principle is Ya ayyuhan nas. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ وَالْأُنْثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. O mankind, I have created you in male and female, in pairs. ذَكَرَ وَأُنْثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا. And I have created you in different tribes, with different races, and